drive an older Mercedes. In fact, if you own any car, at some point you may have to deal with a dead battery. That's not a big issue if you just happen to leave the lights on overnight. But what happens if you're having a problem with a persistent dead battery? In other words, every day you get up and that battery's dead. In this video, I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot and repair those type of problems. If you find your battery's dead in the morning, the first thing you want to do is check the battery. You can't imagine how many problems I've run across that are related to just an old, tired battery. And there's ways to get it tested too. You can take it into most auto parts stores and they'll test it for free. Go ahead and check the date on your battery. See when it was installed. I recommend you do not replace the battery right at the end of its life. Probably it's better to replace it a year ahead of schedule. Then check your connections, both the positive and the negative ground connection, for tightness and for lack of corrosion. If there's any corrosion, clean those. And also check the ground cable where it connects to the chassis and make sure that's clean and tight also. Okay, let's say you have either tested or replaced your battery, you've cleaned and secured your connections, but the battery's still going dead. It's time to move on to the alternator. First thing you want to check is the belt itself and the tightness of the belt. Reach down into the alternator and see if you can turn the pulley by hand. If the pulley moves, then the belt is not tight enough and you'll have to tighten up the belt before you do anything else. If your belt looks okay and it's tight on the pulley, I recommend you go get the alternator tested. Any auto parts store will test these free of charge, so if you can drive the car, get it into a shop or into a parts store and have it professionally tested. If they tell you the alternator is not working, there's one more thing you need to check, especially if you have an older Mercedes-Benz. If your alternator fails a test, don't let the auto parts store sell you a new alternator until you test or check one more thing, and that's the voltage regulator. All Mercedes alternators from the mid-70s up to the mid-90s use an internal voltage regulator that is replaceable for between $20 and $30. The voltage regulator is mounted on the rear of the alternator and is held in place by two screws. When you remove these two screws, you can rotate and pull the regulator up out of the alternator housing. Note the two brushes here. And these brushes wear like any other brushes on any other motor. And over time, these can wear down. If you look at this picture, you'll see a set of badly worn brushes compared to a set of new brushes. If either one of the brushes is worn to below 1/4 inch in length, then the regulator should be replaced. In 8 out of 10 times, I have found that replacing the voltage regulator will restore an alternator to proper output. The regulator is mounted on the lower back side of the alternator, and on many cars it's very difficult to get to. I offer a kit on my website which includes a new regulator and complete instructions on how to replace this yourself. It's certainly worth trying before you replace the whole alternator. So your battery's new, and you're sure the alternator's putting out. You had it tested, you replaced the belt, everything's fine, but this silly battery is still going dead overnight. Now the fun begins. I'm going to show you a procedure that will literally knock your socks off. To isolate the cause of a battery drain, all you'll need is a simple 12-volt test light. We offer this Hella light on our website, and other types of test lights are available at almost any auto parts store. Begin by removing the negative cable from the battery post and clamp one end of the test light to the cable. Take the other end of the test light, use a clamp to hold it in place, and connect the test light itself to the negative battery post. Double check your connections and then observe the light inside the test light housing. Note here there's no glow on the element. You may get a slight glow because a lot of cars have a clock that's running, and that will cause some drain. Watch what happens when I turn on the rear dome light. Look at that, the light lights right up. The rear dome light, by the way, is one of the common causes of a battery drain. If you understand the principle here, it's time for an actual test. I have the test lamp hooked in series between the battery negative post and the ground. And note that the light's on. That means there's some drain going on somewhere inside the car, and the key's off too. To isolate the circuit that's causing the drain, you'll have to go to the fuse box, remove the cover, and using a small pair of needle nose pliers, begin removing one fuse at a time. Each time you remove a fuse, note the light. If it's still on, you have not found the circuit yet that's causing the problem. I've already removed 4 fuses. I'm now approaching fuse number 1, grabbing a hold of it and lifting it out. Watch what happens. Sure enough, the light's gone out. That means the problem in the battery drain in this car is related to something that's connected into fuse 1. Let's take a close look at what's connected to fuse number 1. We have the clock, the trunk, the roof light, front and rear, warning buzzer, electrically operated antenna, and standing light right and left. That's interesting. 2 or 3 of these items, including the dome lights and the power antenna and the clock, are common problems with battery drain. At this point, I don't actually know what's causing the drain, but I at least know where to look. So the next step is to go into the car and start disconnecting these items one at a time, all these things related to fuse number 1, until that light goes out. Well, I mentioned fun. You know, the fun even gets better now. I already unplugged the antenna and the light's still on, so I'm in the car here removing this rear dome light bulb. Let's see if that's the cause of the problem. Let's replace fuse number 1 and see if that was the problem. All right, look at that. Light's not coming on. I think we found it. Upon further inspection, I found the problem was with the dome light switch itself. After replacing that, the problem is solved and we're ready to go. Now we have a car that won't go dead anymore on me. Stay tuned for many more videos. In fact, this particular video we had a lot of screw-ups, so if you're interested, cut.